I'm going to talk all about sarcasm. You know what sarcasm is? It's an onion Oreo. Have any of you ever had an onion Oreo? Oh, you know what an onion Oreo is? It looks like an Oreo. You're all excited to bite into it. At first you smile because you think you're getting an Oreo, and then it has this really bad aftertaste. When someone is sarcastic, they are passively aggressively trying to tell you something that isn't always nice. How many of you know exactly what I'm talking about? So if I said, hey, nice of you to show up, do I really mean? I'm glad, so whenever anyone is sarcastic to me, I go, oh yeah, and would you please say that again, only this time, take out the sarcasm? We have to recognize how we communicate impacts how people communicate with us. So go into your handouts that we provided. If you're in the back of the room, the handouts are on the seat up here, or you can come in here if you didn't get handouts on your seat. If you have a handout next to you that no one is using, can you just send it to the end because the folks in the back don't have them yet? And look for the communication and collaboration assessment. We're going to start with a self-assessment first thing this morning. I was told you all have writing implements. If you do not have something to write with, raise your hand and your partner or somebody next to you will provide you with something. I hope. You have another one?
I might help. Oh, do you need one?
Yeah. Does somebody need one?
I need it.
Here.
I also have another one.
Now, some of you may or may not have studied communication or taken some self-assessments like this. A lot of the self-assessment, frankly, is based on what kind of mood you're in right now. Ever get up and have a really bad day, and by the end of the day, it's just a disaster? Because that's the framework that you're looking out at. So today what I want you to do is just have a little positive self-esteem, but go ahead and try to be as accurate as possible for every one of those elements. These are all traits and attitudes that contribute to good collaboration and good communication. So I'm going to give you some time to just mark poor or good, or what's the other one? Or great. And if you don't know, just check under question mark. I've never really thought about that. It's a good question. For those that are done or are finishing up, you can go ahead and do the next part of this, is to circle 3 of your responses that because you are not really proficient at it, it gets you in trouble. Circle the 3 that kind of consistently get you in trouble. So you're aware of the fact that this is not a strength of yours. Okay, just 3. And once you've done that, go back and put a star next to your top 2. In other words, you do this consistently, you're pretty darn good at it, you recognize it in others, and it's just part of your muscle memory. Star 2. Raise your hand if you're done. Okay. Now I'm going to take this up a notch because I know that all of you are very bright people, and I love speaking to bright people because you get my jokes. So what I want you to do now is to think about this word evidence. How do you actually know that the 3 that you identified as not your strengths are not your strengths? What is the evidence? How do you know that the 2 that you said you're really good at, you really are good at? For example, I continue to get hired to speak. That's part of my evidence that I can publicly speak. So think about what is the actual evidence that backs up your two claims. So you have 5 different things written down. 3 weaknesses, and yes, we all have weaknesses. I am using that word. And then 2 strengths. And now what I'd like you to do is to pair up with someone, and if you can pair up with someone you don't know, that's actually a little bit better. And I want you to share your 3 strengths, your 2 weaknesses, and the evidence. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. So find someone you haven't met yet, pair up with them, and share. Ready, go. Now, there are a few of these items that I really want to encourage you to place a check mark next to, because they're very significant to the concept of working with others. And I really believe that greatness never happens by yourself. That the more we can start building relationships, the more we can continue those relationships. You know what I love about this room is, in this room are the people who are going to make the world a better place. I mean, I know that. You have what it takes. You're here, which is an awfully good indication. And then if you can just always remember something. Friends, repeat after me, I might just be right. I might just be right. Look at the person next to you and say, you might just be right. You might just be right. I'm going to suggest that you are surrounded by idiots on a regular basis. I am going to suggest that you might go to bed at night thinking, oh my God, is everybody a moron, or is it just me? When I was an undergraduate, I never missed a day of class. Well, actually I did, the day after my 21st birthday. I'm being honest, okay? Truthful. But I never missed a day of class. I always sat in the front row. I got called brown nose kiss up. When the professor asked a question, I didn't look down. I looked up and raised my hand. I was also a 4.0 student. It's not that I'm extremely intelligent, my friends. My intention was to get smarter. My intention was to maximize where I was. This conference is an opportunity for you literally to leave here with the bar raised. But the challenge is, when you get back on campus, they were not here. The challenge is when you enter the workplace and you're the first one there and the last one to leave, but everybody else around you wants work-life balance. Know that you're going to be the one who's their boss someday. The harder you work, the further you go. Combine that with a good heart. Combine that with a combined mission. Combine that with capacity and proficiency at various competencies. And combine that with the fact that you believe you might just be right. And there aren't a lot of people around you who have that same mindset. But that doesn't mean you can't. You see, I graduated, got a free ride to one of the top programs in the country in my field. I then applied for 4 jobs and got 4 job offers. I built connections all along the way during my 35 years in higher education. 5 years ago, when I decided I was going to start a national conference because we could do better for you than what we are doing, I called some friends, top speakers in higher education. And every one of them said, sure, I'm in. But that didn't just happen overnight. That's years of building relationships. I hope that every person you speak with at this conference, you get their business card. I hope you put their digits in your phone. I hope you follow up, because you are the ones that might just be right. So repeat after me. I might just be right. All right, here are some ones I want you to place a check mark next to. Number 2, number 8, number 15, number 24, number 28, number 30, number 42, number 43. One more time, that's 2, 8, 15, 24, 28, 30, 42, and 43.
Bingo.
Don't be funnier than the speaker. Okay? We don't do that. Now what we're going to do is deal with the one that I think gets in our way the most. And that is the dealing with difficult people. So we're going to have fun right now. Take out a clean sheet of paper or write on the back of something. And we're going to spend a little time getting real. So what I want you to do on this sheet of paper is write down the name of someone you have a hard time with. You have to interact with them, otherwise who cares? Whether it's a relative, whether it's somebody you're sitting next to. And if it is, use a fake name, okay? Change the name. Make up something else, write their name backwards, I don't know, whatever you need to do. But write the name of someone you have a hard time with. You would define them as difficult. All right, most people can do that rather quickly. It's usually the first person that comes to mind. Now, secondly, underneath that, give me 3 or 4 characteristics of that person. You've just described them as difficult. You've identified them as difficult. Now give me 3 or 4 characteristics. All right, somebody help me out. What's one of your characteristics?
Inscrutable.
Inscrutable. Now, I have no idea what that means.
Difficult to read.
Oh, difficult to read. All right, give me one of yours.
Thick-skinned, and by that I mean like hard shell it's hard for her to open up.
Oh, hard to reach, hard to get in. Someone else.
Overly dramatic.
Overly dramatic. Is there drama on the college campus?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
It comes with choice.
All right, over there with your hand up in the gray shirt.
Lack of self-awareness.
Lack of self-awareness. Orange shirt.
Manipulative.
Manipulative in the back row. Irresponsible.
A good baker.
What?
She's good at baking. I put one positive.
She's good at baking? You know, you're a really nice person, but that was not what I asked you to do. She's good at baking. I want to be your friend, okay? Wouldn't it be nice to only hang around with someone who just says nothing but positive things about everybody? I love that. Yes?
I put toxic attitude.
Toxic. Oh my gosh, what a strong word. Anybody else say toxic? Friends, there are people you need to stop talking to. There are people you need to stop hanging around with because they're not making you better people, they're making you worse people. They're toxic. Someone else? Yes?
Passive.
Passive, passive-aggressive.
Act superior.
Act superior, has that ego going on in the back.
Risk averse.
A what?
Risk averse.
Risk averse. Ooh, college words. Okay, risk averse, right here in the front.
Hard-headed.
Hard-headed, stubborn. Lazy.
Oblivious to other feelings.
Oblivious to other feelings.
A know-it-all.
A know-it-all.
Kind of with that blameless.
Oh, doesn't accept blame at all.
Always their way.
Always their way.
Misogynistic.
Misogynistic. I won't tell you who all these descriptions fit. I'll keep my democratic voice quiet.
Inconsiderate.
Say it again.
Inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate.
A liar.
A liar.
Uses people.
Uses people. All right, now, here's the tough part of this exercise. Put a line underneath those characteristics because you just very accurately gave the evidence for being difficult. Now I want you to write down how this person would describe you. You spell perfect, P-E-R-F-E-C-T. How would this person describe you? Now, for some of you, I don't think you've really stopped to put the shoe on the other foot. I'm not sure if you really stop with some people and say, well, how are they perceiving me and what's the evidence that they have to go from? Oh, it's true. Some people walk in the room and we go, hey, how you doing? And we go right up to them and they're followed by other people and we don't even acknowledge them. Or you're in a group and 3 of you say, hey, let's go out, and there's 3 other people standing there and they're not invited. So when you think about all the descriptors you just gave, see if any of them actually apply to you. You see, when we have positive self-esteem or we're looking through our own lens, we tend to be much kinder. So let's play a game. Here's the game. I'm going to say a word, and it might be a word that comes from any of you. Something that's positive, maybe. Something that represents a positive sense of self. And then I want you to give me the term that someone with no intent of liking you, the person who you consider difficult, what would they say? What would be their word? So if I say, I'm assertive, the person who doesn't like you would say you're what? Bossy, there you go. If I say I'm speaking the truth, the person who doesn't like you would say? Abrasive, judgmental. If I say, and this happens all the time to me, I'm really enthusiastic, someone who doesn't like me would call me what? Annoying. And obnoxious. Annoying and obnoxious. If I say I'm fun, someone who has no intent of getting along with me would call me what? Irresponsible, distracting, not focused. If I say I'm realistic and pragmatic, somebody who doesn't like me would call me what? See, you guys know how to play this game. If I say I'm optimistic, someone who doesn't like me would call me what? Foolish. Oh, you guys, foolish. Good one. If I say, oh, and here's one I want all of you to own. If I say I am confident and self-assured, someone who has no intent of getting along with me would call me what?
Vain or arrogant.
Does that apply? Think about that. Most of you in this room are pretty self-confident, aren't you? But someone who has no intent of getting along with you might think you're power crazy, might think you're egotistical, might think you're cocky, correct? All right, I think I'm intelligent, you think I'm?
A know-it-all.
A know-it-all. Ooh, you guys are good at this. I think I'm curious, you think I'm? Ooh, you guys are getting these right on. I say I'm easygoing, you say? Lazy, now you're getting this. I think I'm organized, you say I'm? Neat freak, controlling. Have any of you ever been called controlling? Yes. Do you know why? You are. How many of you might be diligent, but someone else would call you? Stubborn. All right, you might think you're patient. Someone who doesn't like you would call you indulgent, disengaged, pushover. And you call yourself leader, but someone who doesn't like you calls you? I think you guys get this, right? It all depends on what sunglasses you have on. You put on red sunglasses and guess what? Everything you see kind of has a red tint, does it not? Yes, it does. So think about the role you play. So now write the word my and a line underneath it. M-Y and a line. And if we are owning our communication and the evidence that you've already talked about, think about why this difficult situation is occurring with the other person. Just as an example, I was traveling a lot a few years back when I was a full-time speaker and on the road all the time. And my husband was having a hard time with that, and we were not getting along very well. We could be in the same bed and feel like we were in two different planets. So I'm getting ready to take another trip. He's bringing my luggage downstairs, and I get the, I suppose you want me to put this in the car. And I said, yes, thank you very much. Now, at this point, my career was really going up. I had just opened for Dr. Phil. I was about to be on with Susie Ormond. I was doing all this stuff, feeling pretty damn cocky or confident, depending on whether you like me or not. And so my husband said, when are you going to be back this time? And I said, I get home when I get home, for crying out loud. And then he stood on the porch as I was about to get in the car, and he said, you know, it's pretty hard to love somebody who's never here. Raise your hand. How many of you would have not gotten in the car and gone back up on the porch? Raise your hands. Yeah, you know what I did? I said, F you, and got in the car. Now, was that the thing that was going to bring us closer together? No, I was wearing the glasses of resentment. I was wearing the glasses of self-importance. I was trying to be who I was going to be without consideration. So it was my sense of importance that got us into this situation. So consider whether it's your need for control, your need to be liked, unrealistic expectations you have, a desire to be right all the time. Go ahead with the my and fill in the blank. If you're owning the difficult, what role are you playing? It's because of your, everybody got that? This is higher level. Go ahead, write it down. Should be the first thing that comes to mind. You actually know the answer. You're just filling in my, my, and a blank. Why is this situation occurring if you were to own it? If you were to say it's really because of me, what specifically? Now, if I had a couple of hours, or 12, we could really get into this topic of dealing with difficult people, essentially, or just getting along better with difficult people. And we could delve into the what are we doing that is pushing people away from us? Why aren't we baking cookies for other people instead of criticizing them? Why aren't we asking, how can I help, instead of what's in it for me? Why aren't we building up leaders around us instead of always having to be in charge? So consider the role and the intent that you have moving forward. If we're going to deal with difficult people, there are a couple of ways we do that. One of the first ones is to own your stuff, my friends. Own what you're good at, own what you're bad at, own the role you're playing. The next one is to seek the common ground, even if the common ground is just getting along. You don't have to like everybody you meet, my friends, but you do have to love them. If the common ground is just getting along. Lighten up, stop judging, let it go. Everybody repeat after me, let it go. I mean, in the scope of the world, does it really matter that they said X, Y, and Z? Or can you just let it go? Communicate with civility. One of the things I feel very strongly about is as soon as the volume gets raised, the respect gets lowered. So if you are ever going to be shouting in a conversation, it means you have lost control. If the other person starts to shout, you can either say, we'll have this conversation later, and leave it. But when conversations escalate, you're also physiologically escalating your blood pressure, and it goes badly from there. Communicate with civility. One of the greatest problems we have is the concept that communication has actually even been achieved. So what we're going to do is a fun exercise right now. Go into your packets and find the sheet that has a lot of lines. It says, find someone who. Because communication takes effort, it takes action, it takes positive intent. You know, when I got up this morning, I said prayers, and I always say, let me be the window, the conduit from which your light shines through me onto others. And if you believe that wherever you go, you have the ability either to bring rain or sunshine, does it change how you interact with other people and your desire to get along with other people? So what we're going to do right now is a little fun thing called Find Someone Who. I'm going to give you about 8 minutes. The goal here is to approach people you don't know with kindness. It is not to take this sheet, go up to someone and say, here, sign. Or what can you do? I've watched people stay in their seat and just hold it up like this. In other words, I am very, very important, and you can come to me if you want me to sign anything. The goal here is you sign someone's sheet once, they sign your sheet only once. If you want to only get one signature because you're having this great conversation with someone you've never met before, then get one signature. The whole purpose here is your intent moving forward. Everybody got that? All right, on your mark, get set, go. So as we go forth, I want you to consider just 6 questions of collaboration. And what's so interesting is Janice referred to these last night, and every time I go to a session, I hear part of this. Because maybe, just maybe, these are truth. So for collaboration, ask yourself, why do I even care? Why does it even matter? What do I want or seek? What do I know about the other person? How can I connect with the other person? I gave you a tool, didn't I? The first time I did not, but I gave you a tool. What tools do you have at your disposal when you get back on campus? Am I contributing my fair share? And what do I need? Then flip all of these questions around. What do they need? What do they want? What do they seek? What do they know about you? So everything we've been doing today really comes back full circle. Now help me out. What are one of the more significant lessons you're taking away from today? Someone help me out. What's one of the more significant lessons that you have learned during our very short time together? All right, my friend with the cookies.
Like be more, can't think of the word, like with what you want when you're talking to people, like be more direct and focused.
Be more direct, focused, intentional maybe. Okay, can you hand this down to him? It's a book I wrote. All right. Have you noticed I quote myself and I hand out things I write? Oh, now all the hands are up, right? We all want books. Yes, my friend.
I would say to be cognizant of how the other person views you in a conflict.
Okay, be cognizant of how the other person views you in a conflict. And on the end over there. Yes, you. Purposeful. You need to be purposeful in your lifetime. I get up in the morning and instead of saying, oh crap, it's Monday, you know what I say? Thank you. So again, you have an awful lot of control over your day and over your destiny. Yes, my friend.
I would say that everybody has their own niche and it just needs to be respected, whether it's the communication aspect or the making things happen aspect.
Very good. Everybody has their own thing that they can contribute. And when we accept that gift, instead of trying to make them just like us, then you get along. Right here.
Listening to listen versus listening just to talk and that talk through it genuine.
Okay, everybody repeat after me. Shut up. Shut up. One more time. Shut up. Okay, that's something you're going to say to yourself. Now say it without saying a word. Exactly. All right, right here. Last one.
Leadership is a choice.
Leadership is a choice. In fact, whose choice is it? And why is that? Repeat after me because I just might be right. One more time. Look at the I quote myself again. I love that. So, one more time, look at the person to your right and left and say, you might just be right. So the question remains, ODK, how will you lead? Will you lead from abundance or scarcity? Will you lead assertively or aggressively? Cautiously or recklessly? How is this room going to lead? Will you lead humbly or from ego? Will you lead with intent or by chance? Will you lead enthusiastically or resentfully? How will you lead? Will you lead from a sense of collaboration or competitiveness? Civility or chaos? Will you lead from choice or force? Leadership is, in fact, a choice. You are the ones who are going to make the world a better place because you're in it. And never forget, you might just be right. God bless you. Have a wonderful conference. I will see you at 11.